you're one of those people that thought the last episode was a little slow or underwhelming, well man, buckle up because you're in for a ride with this episode.
The universe wants to break free, so it manifests chaos.
This is my review of episode 4 of Loki, the Nexus Event, and it will contain spoilers because man, I'm gonna unpack everything that happened in this episode because it was just incredibly insane. And in an interview, Tom Hiddleston said that episode 4 and 5 were his favourite episodes. Yeah, I think he's right. Episode 4, man, it did not disappoint, and I think it's one of the best ones so far. I expected great things and I received great things. The episode starts in Asgard and I thought we was going to have a little like Loki throwback, but no, it's a little girl who you can only assume is Sylvie, and it is. And then she's taken by the timekeepers to get erased, but she's just a little girl, and I thought the timekeepers were so brutal to just take her. Did she even create a Nexus event? She was just playing with some toys. She can't have done that much harm, but she did escape. And then we learn a bit more about Sylvie, how she's been on the run since she's been a little girl. And so we understand her character a bit more, and it makes a whole lot of sense building up from what we learned from episode 3. And Ravonna Renslayer, it's safe to say that I hate her. I hate her in this episode. She's now the villain. Loki and Sylvie bond a bit more when they're on that planet that's about to be destroyed, and that bonding creates a Nexus event. So the members at the TVA are able to find them and then bring them back to the TVA. And then Loki is stuck in some sort of time loop with Lady Sif, and I missed her, and she just keeps telling him that he's worthless and that he'll never have love and that he is destined to be alone, and she punches him and he's just forced to relive that over and over again. And for everyone that missed Mobius in episode 3, he's back, and we get the iconic duo of Loki and Mobius again, and you still have that banter between them and that tension.
You betrayed me. You betrayed me. Grow up. Grow up.
And to try and get some information out of Loki about his and Sylvie's plans, Mobius lies and pretends that they reset, they pruned, they killed Sylvie, and this unexpectedly upsets Loki, and he's like, what? Are you telling the truth? Is Sylvie dead? And Mobius is like, wait, don't tell me you two are having a little romance. Don't tell me that Loki, you've fallen in love with yourself.
What a incredible seismic narcissist.
And he's just teasing him about it all, and it is a little bit funny. And so you see, Loki's in love with Lady Loki. He's in love with a female version of himself.
That's pure chaos. That could break reality. It's breaking my reality right now.
And in this conversation between Loki and Mobius, first there was Sylvie's fake death, and then Loki's fake confession of love. And then what comes with death and love? The truth. Loki in an outburst tells Mobius the truth that they are all variants, and it seems like Mobius believes him, but then he's like, nah, you're just playing, let's go back to the time loop. And before Loki goes back into this time loop with Lady Sif, he says to Mobius that all of the liars here at the TVA, you are the biggest one of them all because you're lying to yourself.
You're a liar! You're a liar!
And Hunter B15, who was the very first TVA member that we met in episode 1, I forgot that Sylvie controlled her body, and so the memories that she gave back to C20, she did the same with B15, and so B15 knows that there is something up with the TVA as well, and that is she a variant herself, and so you see that unfold in this episode as well. But back to C20 first. Mobius wanted to have a conversation with her, but Renslayer says, oh no, that's not possible. And he's like, why? What's up with C20? I need to talk about her to see if I can get any more information about Sylvie. And then Renslayer's like, oh no, she's dead. She went too crazy from the control of Sylvie. But we find out why she's dead. Mobius is talking with Renslayer and he distracts her and swaps the little gadget thing. He swaps his out with hers, and there's a recording on hers of an interview with C20, and C20 saying that it's all real. The things she showed me wasn't an illusion, it was a memory. And that's after Loki told Mobius that he's a variant, and now that really flicks the switch in Mobius's head that, oh my god, we are actually all variants. I'm a variant. I'm a jet skier. I can have a jet ski. And now back to B15. She goes to interrogate Sylvie, and Sylvie says that yes, you are a variant. And so that's another person in the TVA that knows she's a variant, and that leads to this climatic ending. And now you have C20 who's dead but knew she was a variant. B15 knows she's a variant, and now Mobius knows that he's a variant, and so he wants to team up, he wants to partner up with Loki and Sylvie to tear down the TVA, and yay, we get the iconic trio, but it's short-lived because when him and Loki go to like escape and hatch a plan or whatever, they are confronted with Renslayer, and she prunes him and he's dead? Question mark, he's dead. Unsure on that front yet. And so you just hate Renslayer even more. Like, who is she working for? What is up with these timekeepers? And then she brings Loki and Sylvie in front of the timekeepers, and I was so prepared to go on a whole rant that what the hell, why do they look so weird, they look so cartoonish, they look like puppets, and then the echo on their voices, like it just seems so cheap. I feel cheated by Marvel, like you've got this budget but you create all this all-powerful timekeepers and they look like that. But then badass B-15 shows up and she sets Loki and Sylvie free, and then there's a whole nice little fight between some of the members and all that, trying to keep them away from like attacking the timekeepers. But Loki and Lady Loki do succeed, and Sylvie doesn't even wait to talk to the timekeepers. She just throws her sword at them and it chops off one of their heads, and then she lifts up the head and you're prepared to see guts or whatever, but you see metal and wires, and the timekeepers were animatronics. So the timekeepers aren't real, or at least those 3 puppets there weren't real, and they just seemed like things you find at a ride in Disneyland. And like, I just thought that in itself was crazy. I was like, oh my god, the timekeepers aren't real, end of episode. But then, no. Amongst that, finding out that, Loki's like, oh, or if the timekeepers aren't real, what's our plan now? And after his conversation with Mobius where he was like, oh, you have a little thing for Sylvie, it seems like he's about to confess his feelings to Sylvie, but then Renslayer wasn't dead, or at least knocked out long enough, and she prunes Loki, and you're like, oh my god, is Loki dead? I mean, he's been dead, and he's been dead, and he's been dead, and I can do that many, many times. And it's funny because him and Sylvie had a conversation earlier in the episode where they think they're about to die on the planet, but he's like, we're Lokis. We lose, and we lose painfully, but we don't die, we survive. And it's funny because he dies but he doesn't die, so you're like, oh my god, is he dead? And then the episode ends, but it doesn't end there because there's finally an end credit scene. And this end credit scene, I felt that yeah, it's a good end credit scene, but it could also have just kept us waiting and the next episode could start with that scene. The end credit scene, Loki wakes up and he is confronted with 3 other versions of himself. One of them could be a variant of 4 because he has a hammer, but there's definitely 2 standout ones which are a younger version of Loki and an older version of Loki. And I haven't really paid much attention to the score in this show, but man, in this episode, in those silent moments where no one's talking and you just hear the music, oh, it gave me a little bit of chills. I just love the dynamic between the duo between Loki and Sylvie, and then Loki and Mobius. And so we didn't see Mobius in that little wherever the prune people go, wherever Loki went, so we don't know entirely if he is dead, but nah, he's not dead. We're gonna have him riding a jet ski. I'm just loving these characters more and more. And I love that B-15 got a bit more action as well in this episode. And that Renslayer, she got a bit more action as well, but I hate her. You killed Mobius, now you're on my hit list. And after Renslayer kills Loki, I was so prepared to say, is he dead? Is he finally dead? Is the rest of the season gonna go on from Sylvie's perspective? Where do prune people go? The end credit scene answers that. I love this show so much because it makes us ask so many questions, but then they are answered so quickly and we don't have to wait that long for an answer. This show isn't confusing. We understand pretty much everything that's going on, and you're excited for each new episode because there's so many reveals throughout that makes you want to watch the next episode to see where this show is going. And it's just the 4th episode. Tom Hiddleston was right. Those episodes are great, 4 and 5. Haven't watched 5th one yet, but I'm just saying it now. That episode's great. And there's so many like payoffs in this show. Like they set something up and it pays off because what they set up is what it's supposed to be. Is Sylvie gonna turn out to be Ralph Boner as well? I don't think so. And I don't know where episode 5 is going. I clearly didn't see where this episode was going, where loads of people were just dying left, right and centre. Did Renslayer know that they were animatronics, that they wasn't real? I feel like yes she did, but does she still think that there are real timekeepers, or who is she working for? Like, there's just so many questions, but I've already had so many answers that I'm okay with these questions. I'm so excited for next week's episode. Next Wednesday is my birthday, but I don't even care about that. I now have something to look forward to, and that is episode 5 of Loki. And oh man, it can't come sooner. This episode was definitely a step up from last week's episode. We were running and it felt exhilarating, and oh my god, I thought I was just gonna slam smack into a wall. And with Loki being pruned, I did, and there were so many oh my gods said in the last like 10 minutes of this episode because oh my god, it was incredibly intense. And that concludes my review of Loki's episode 4, the Nexus Event, and I loved every second of it. If you like this video, leave it a like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. Bye! Oh yeah, and look at my t-shirt. Do you like it? Could you tell it was a Loki one? Miss Minutes.